thought I'd make a video. This won't be all that long. But I was thinking that, there's so many people that I think were house sitting. God knows how many of these people were house sitting in. I think what my understanding of it this whole time is I believe you have Jeremy King's family, the King family, the Basile family, John Basile's house, and James's house, and I'm really starting to think also Bruce's parents were all house sitting, and a lot of people were. And one of the reasons that I was, I didn't really recently I was trying to think to myself that I think Miguel and Diana had to have been house sitting, because when I was a kid, I know they didn't have a job. I know, they didn't have high-level professional jobs. How can you pay for a mortgage and you're living in that house? If everyone knew that he got raped, Frankie got raped, and he didn't go to prison, and he sits in that house, then what does that mean? That means that you have not only a transgender that plays along with a child being horrifically punched and poisoned and raped, but you have the guy that actually did it living in the house, and you're nurturing him for a sympathy party and then going to church. And on top of that, how did you afford and pay for that house? You're Mexican. There's Latins. There's not very many Mexican and Latin people that I recall, a whole bunch that were living in the neighborhood I lived in. In fact, when my dad first moved in there, his first family, his kids, like Robert Palomo, told me that they were the only colored people in the entire block. Everyone there was white. So, given the idea, I met Michael Jackson at 5 years old, and all this stuff was going on, where everyone found out, whoever knew, is someone let them sit in that house continuously, way before 9/11. So this wasn't a 9/11 surprise. Someone let that, because how did they pay? Because I know that probably any job that they had, they would have had trouble, they would have had been fired. Who gave them permission to stay in that house continuously and have normal jobs? So anyway, I thought I'd make that discussion, but I'm really thinking that also Bruce's family, Myron family, that lives next door to Daniel's, I think they were house sitting. The reason I think they were also house sitting is many years ago, when I try to fit the character of what someone's mind and what type of character, what they think they're entitled to, by what race, how they walk, talk, educational, what job, how their family functions, and what they're doing, I believe that Bruce's dad is one of those people that fits kind of into that character. They used to work for the post office. They worked for the post office. His dad did, and I'm going to say I think his mom did as well. But his dad and mom worked for the post office for like 30 or 40 years. I knew that they had good jobs. And I do recall, unusual. Bruce's dad was very quiet. He didn't really kind of communicate with Bruce's friends. And I remember being like 16 years old, maybe 15. I don't know. It was somewhere. I could have been 18, anywhere from 15 to 18 years old. And I was talking to Daniel outside, and I looked to my left, and we're out there by the mailbox and just talking. I look to my left, and I see Bruce's dad come in, walking to get the mail out of the mailbox, and walk out. And I remember how he didn't have any shoes on; he was just walking. And the way that he kind of characterized it, it looked like he knew somebody and was investigating. Somebody was getting into his circle of privacy, or there was something else that was going on. And I remember him just kind of walking, and he goes, and he like kind of like that, and he was walking, and I never had conversations with him, but God knows how many people were, there's still these people who are getting free houses and spending all the money, free credit cards, and giving free money away because that's what they were doing. Anyway, it's too late now. Not that I'm accusing them. I don't even know if Kathy was, because I knew Kathy was making, I was told that Kathy was making, Richard Murphy told me this when I was like 15 years old. He said that his mom made $27 or $28 an hour at her job. She was making really good money. And I was like 15 years old. I was like 14 to 15 years old. And I remember Richard's like, yeah, my mom makes a lot of money. She makes like $27, $28 an hour at her job. And, I don't know what the circumstances of this circumstances, but I could tell you this. My dad, the father that raised me, he paid for that house. There is no way that you're going to be a skin-colored person like him, especially that dark tone like Native American Indian, not a handsome-looking guy, and you got a bachelor's degree in nursing, that you even think of that's how you steal houses. You just go to the bank, say you're going to put a down payment, or somebody gives you the keys and you just move in. Because that's not your criteria of mental thinking, which mental thinking is, you get your job, you get a college education, you work very hard, and you do the blue collar thing, the Leave It to Beaver kind of episodes, like classic black and white TV shows. You do your job, come home to the wife and your kids, and you do the same thing over and over until you pay for your house and your retirement. It's old fashioned, but it doesn't work that way. And I know my dad paid for that house. There ain't nobody going to give you, nobody's going to give you a sympathy bullshit ride for that, and unless you're gay. And that was why all the homosexuals and gays were giving away free houses to their own, and then gutted out all the straight guys, and the women just want to breed and have babies, and then you have the gay man take care of the straight female and give them money and have a good life, and it's just like that's the economy. And so that's how we get gutted out, because the opportunities at work, racism, and all this other shit gets bad. So the homosexuals have it 10 times better and easy access to everything to get away with a lot of shit. But yeah, I thought I'd make a video on this. I don't hate, I don't have, partially probably because I'm older, and so when I point the finger and I say, oh, well, you didn't give me a job, you didn't give me all this when I was 25, and these motherfuckers sit in a house rent-free for fucking 30 fucking years, because it's not only because the time is too late, but when I do bring that topic up, it's like, well, that's how I know that's how I know you persecuted me. That's exactly how I know that you did that, because you allow all them, and it makes me think that John Basile, if John Basile's family had moved in and they stole that house as well, the Basile family, then what does that mean? Does that mean that, because you know how the mothers and fathers always want their kids to come out first and get the better life? How do you know you don't charge them any rent and you let them keep all the money? So how did John Basile pay for his car? I thought he had to pay rent there. How do you pay for a car now? How do you get all this money for vending machines? How do you get all this money? Oh, I just let my son get a good job and keep making money to get a good life, because you get better options when you have money. I don't get anything. But I don't hate, I'm not judgment on that family. Obviously, they had a lot of church stuff going on there, but it makes me think of how many of these people help their kids get jobs and all this money so they can buy nice clothes in high school and all these things, for themselves. Because I didn't have, you know how much I got for high school, how much to buy clothes? I got no more. Every year I got, I think it was like $225. I never got more than $300, and that I was supposed to buy a whole new set of closet clothes That was shoes, pants, and shirts. I had clothes that I wore when I was 27, 28 years old, working at the federal government office, that I wore when I was 15 years old. And I'm not kidding you. I had that clothes since I was 15 fucking years old. And but every year, I think maybe maybe at the beginning of the year, I got like $270 worth of clothes. And, you go to the mall, everything is there, at that time, I don't know what the prices are for new jeans at a fucking mall, because everything there is new. It's not Ross, but when you go to a mall, each pair of jeans was a minimum, I think it was like, if I remember correctly, $60 to 66, anywhere from $55 to like $65. All pairs of jeans, all of them. Anything else, shirts were $40, even shirts like this were like fucking, back then, a shirt like this would have cost you $35. A shirt like this would have cost $35. It was very expensive. But I thought I'd make a video on this because they were buying all these clothes and all this other shit because they want their kids to be royal and everything, and I'm not getting anything. And I don't hate. I'm not jealous. I think it's probably I'm not jealous of it. I'm angry because the persecution of, okay, you're gonna let all these people get away with this. They're friends of mine and their parents, but I don't get anything, and you're not giving me a job. My mother's kicking me out. My dad is a World War II veteran that actually paid for his house. I get nothing from this. But it doesn't change the fact that it's too late. I don't want to have this conversation over and over because it is too late. But I don't have any jealousy. It's just, it's kind of like I leave it up to God, kind of. When I bring it up in frustration, it's because I knew that the people that were watching me and whoever it was poisoning me, was intentionally to sabotage me. And they did it with hate. They did it with hate. They did it for hate crimes. But it doesn't change the circumstances. Because I'm thinking, like, how did John Basile buy all this equipment? Because just like Michael spent like $40,000 easily, probably on dope. And then he had 10,000. He literally had, it was at 1,000 records was the value. You're not kidding you. He would go to the stores and always walk out with like 10 or 11 records. I'd walk out with nothing. I'd walk out with one record. For every 10 times we went to Bill's Records, I'd walk out with maybe one record, two records. Not every 10 times. I say like every 6 to 7 times that we went to Bill's Records to go shopping or to look for records and just look at them, experience it. He walked out with 10 records every time, 6, 7 records every single time. I walked out with maybe one every time. And that whole experience, so when you have all this money that's being spent, equipment and all this, how are you getting all this money? Where is all this cash and money coming from? So if he's doing that, and gossip, the word of information exchanges faster and more believable through human beings, through word of mouth, then what happens to all the other neighbors and people that are gossiping? I sold a house. Well, if he's getting away with this, I'm going to get away with this. You already gave me this, so I'm going to give this to my kids, remember? So I'm going to get the good life. So I thought I'd say something about this to talk about for a moment. I think the Basile, John, and Anthony were also doing that. Like their parents also gave them money. I know Daniel didn't because he didn't want to get a job. I know his dad used to pay him $50 to mow the lawn, another $50 to mow the backyard. He gave him like $100 for washing the dishes because Daniel never really wanted to do shit. But yeah, it's too late. I don't have any bitterness. I just don't. If I talk about it, it's because it's the higher ups that were looking over things that did it, persecuted me in hate crimes. They knew what to do to help, not help, and all this other shit.